Let's evaluate this student PowerPoint that was used for an informative speech on chocolate. Let's see how many of the design principles, design rules that we have for graphics and for text, and how we use images. Let's see how this student did. So here on our first slide, we do have an issue right away. We have a contrast issue. The white on white doesn't work. Right, so you can see the white on the dark background, dark brown, does look good. Yellow is fine. I think I prefer white, but we have an issue there. So the question is, how would we fix that? Well, it would really be easy. All we have to do is take the word chocolate and move it over here to the left, and that would move everything up. We also don't have a credit line under the image. This one is interesting because this is actually a template that she purchased. I wouldn't spend money on a template, but she did. And because it was part of the template, she doesn't need a credit line. But let's say this was an image. Where would the credit line go if she had gotten this from Google Images? It would be aligned to the left because the image is on the left. So align the credit line, it goes under the image, the name of the website, font size 10 to 12, aligned to the left. If the chocolate were on the right, we would align the text box to the right. What violations do you see here? What was our background color on the previous slide? Brown and white. Oh, we changed. Why? We're violating the principle of repetition. If we're using brown and white as our color scheme, then we need to continue that. Although I have to say, I don't imagine that this image would look very good on a white background. So here's one of the things you need to do. Remember KISS, keep it simple, sweetie. Right? Choose a different image. Don't force it to work if it doesn't work. This is a lot of white in this image, and I understand it wouldn't look good on a white background. I don't think this image is actually all that great. The coloring isn't fabulous. I think there would be something that's more attractive. Right? What else is wrong? Oh, we have an incorrect credit line. No HTTP. We stop at the .com, .org, .edu, so we need to delete all of these slashes and all these details. Okay, so it's aligned properly and it's the right size. Okay. She only said a couple of things about Willy Wonka in her speech, so I wouldn't even have had this slide in here because she's got about 10 or 12 of them. And so I would have just deleted this slide. Then we look at history. If you know how to animate bullet points and bring them in one at a time, you're certainly welcome to do that. It helps keep the audience on track, actually, and not to glance ahead. All right, so we have contrast issues. The brown over the chocolate does not work. We have a page 3 at the bottom right of this slide. Why is there a page number there? Is that helpful to the audience? No. Is it helpful to you as a speaker? No. You actually just need to know you're on your history point, and these are your subpoints. You don't need to know what page you're on, so delete that. Now we're talking about how it's made. We changed the background again. Why did we do that? I think this would look fine on a white background, so keep that same template or the same background on your slides when possible. Little tiny details, the title isn't centered. Those are just little things that we would notice. I don't think the yellow on the brown is great contrast. I think it would be better if it were white and bold print. I love bold print. But this is an interesting image as far as what it is. Now, some people will say they're confused by the image. Well, that's okay. As long as we can look at it, you are in the process of explaining how it's made from the raw bean. When you cut it open, this is what it looks like on the inside. Then we're following you. So it doesn't have to make sense by itself. We want to rely on the speaker to explain what it means and give us something to look at. Credit line, usually if you do it wrong on one, you'll probably do it wrong on most of them. Again, no HTTP, stop at the .org, .com, .edu, delete these extra. It's black, which is okay. White in bold print might be fine too. Here she continues with how it's made. And we have a couple of things that have happened with this particular slide. Again, page number, delete. Okay. I don't know if you noticed the writing. This is actually a dark blue, and the writing on the other slides is dark brown. So we violated what? We violated the principle of repetition. The same color pattern, the same, unless there was a specific reason for changing it up, and sometimes there is one, we don't want to change that. We want to keep this brown. Okay, obviously there's overlap here. There's sometimes issues with the program, but you have to fix it. So you test out your slideshow before in slideshow mode to make sure it works properly. Okay, here we have a little girl, cute, eating chocolate. Which principle does this violate? Proximity, group like items together. What does this have to do with how it's made? Absolutely nothing. This is about eating it. So I understand there's too much white space here if we didn't have this image, but this image was not the answer. So how do we fix this? I mean, it is a little boring if we just have all these 6 words here. Oh, here's an idea. What if we did this? Oh, I was trying to go back. Let's take the image that we saw on the previous slide of the rock cow being cut in half and put that on one side. And then let's list these 6 steps on the other side, and that would fix our issue, right? Sometimes, again, y'all get lost in your creativity, and so sometimes you need an objective person. Ask a friend or family to help. Does this make sense, right? Their input is okay to help you along with what it looks like. You know the principles, though, so make sure you're following the rules and the principles. There are disadvantages to chocolate she covers. So technically the yellow over the white is not fabulous. That violates contrast, and we could just make that a little smaller. I'd probably let that slide for this case. It's a small detail. So what's going on here? Well, if you really look closely at this image, you're going to see that it's on a white background. It goes from right where the E is on heart disease, this side over here, and it goes all the way over here to the middle of the word page. But it's covering the letters. You can't do that. So you can crop the image and crop the extra white off if you know how, and then you solve the problem. If you don't know how to crop, just pick a different image that works. Or maybe you could scoot it over a little bit to the right to fix it. Make sure you check spelling. We have a spelling error here, and then you can't cover the words. Again, delete your page number. Then she talks about the benefits. Wait, there's disadvantages and there's benefits. Doesn't that sound contradictory? Well, yes, it does. That's a great observation. But there are disadvantages to chocolate and there are benefits to chocolate. So we certainly can have both of those in our presentation. That is informative. That remains neutral. So here we have a list of benefits. I don't necessarily like the series of words here, prevent cancer, disease, and strokes. I think I would just itemize those and continue those each as a separate bullet point. It would help me use the space a little bit more. But technically, it's probably one of the better slides, although we have a lot of white space down at the bottom here and even up here in this area. So it's a little empty. Here we have examples of graphs. I would normally recommend 1 graph per slide, unless you're comparing the two. In this case, she's not. But when you're talking about your slides, it's always good to explain what they mean. You don't assume that the audience understands what this is. You don't have to itemize every single detail, right? Each of these items and how much of each of these items. Your goal is to convey the general meaning of this information. So ORIC values, for example, I would explain to you that we like items with high ORIC values. They help fight free radicals in your body, and clearly you can see that dark chocolate is higher on our ORIC values compared to some other things that are traditionally known as high ORIC values, more than milk chocolate, more than apples, even more than red wine. And so I didn't list each one of these, but I gave you the summary. So you need to explain how to read the graph and what it means, but not every single detail. Her final slide was this. Well, I take that back. This is what she used in her conclusion. All right, it's so cute, isn't it? Yes. Credit line's incorrect again, but it's there. How impactful do you think that is? How helpful do you think that is? This is the 9th slide. We don't need 9 for this speech. We certainly could combine these together. We could do advantages and benefits on the same slide, half and half. We could delete the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory slide, and we could combine those two how it was made slides to make it a much more efficient presentation, easier for you as the speaker and the audience. So what does this have to do with chocolate, you ask? Absolutely nothing, right? She talks about chocolate making you feel happy, and so she chose this. Well, I think maybe that cute little girl eating chocolate with a happy face would have been better here, but that image was really too small. It really wasn't the minimum size that we're looking for. So pick a different image. If it's not working, pick something else. She actually has a next slide. I do not want your works cited page on your PowerPoint. That is my particular preference. I look at your works cited page. It should be with your outline. Every professor is different, so always follow their directions. But you are verbally giving us your research in your speech, so the audience does not need to see this works cited page. They don't care about this works cited page if you want to be honest about it. I'm going to look at your works cited page with your outline, so you submit it all on even one page is fine. I don't need a separate document for me, but audiences do not need this. Some of your classes, your professors require this. You absolutely do what they tell you to do, but it is not needed in my case, and I only grade it with your outline. So if you don't submit it on your outline, you will not get credit for a works cited page. That's how it works in my class. So hopefully this helps you apply those principles on that you've learned from our PowerPoint videos. Keep it simple.